Hello and welcome to the ARCA Menard Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen. This is Racing News Now, and today we're going to talk about ARCA's 2021 visit to the Iowa Speedway, the Shore Lunch, 150 laps around the 7/8 mile oval out there in Newton, Iowa. The only race at Iowa Speedway this season for any series across the entire calendar year of 2021. This is the only race at Iowa Speedway. So, the question is, did ARCA put up a good enough show to ward away the rumors that this might possibly be the last race ever at Iowa Speedway? I think they did. Now, before we get into that, if you are new here, we're still currently in our hashtag Race to 1K. The quicker we get to 1,000 subscribers, the quicker YouTube will let us do mobile live streaming, which will greatly improve both the quality and quantity of coverage we're able to give you from the track. Again, as I've been saying for a while now, but again, if you're new here, you won't know this, we will be at every main ARCA Menard Series race for the rest of the season, going forward from here, except for Watkins Glen in a couple of weeks. That is the only main ARCA race that I do not plan on being at for the rest of the season. So the quicker we get to 1,000 subscribers, the quicker you get mobile live streams from these tracks, the quicker you get more and better coverage from these ARCA Menard Series races. So if that's something you're interested in, consider going down below and hitting that big red subscribe button for me. All right, so let's talk about the Shore Lunch 150. And I know the elephant in the room here, we've got the mic in the shot this time, and you probably noticed the audio quality is a lot better. I got tired of dealing with whatever that background noise was we were getting in these videos. I don't know what it was. I tried to eliminate all background noise that I possibly could not get rid of it. It was even in a hotel room, so I think it was just the mic in my phone was not doing its best job. So we're going to start using this now. Hopefully this works better, because I know it sounds a lot better for the interviews at the track, so why not use it if we got it? So anyway, let's talk about Iowa yesterday now, because this is what happens when ARCA doesn't update the points until midday the next day, when I'm already on my way home from the track. I tried to do this last night. There was no point. I was going to do it this morning before I left the hotel. Still nothing. And of course, they send it while I'm driving back home 6 hours. So it is what it is. But let's talk about this race. Another very one-sided race. If you have seen the videos we put up from last night, or video, you know who won this race. But in case you haven't, I'm not going to spoil it for you just yet, but I will say it was a very one-sided race in terms of the lead. We did have a bit of a race for the lead at one point early on, but after that, really, once we got a lap or so past a restart, you could tell who was going to be probably the winner of this race, because he was just so dominant in this race. And honestly, if you look at past experience at Iowa, this probably doesn't come as much of a shock. So let's look at your caution report for this race. 6 caution flags, total of 36 laps from Iowa. 2 breaks, of course, at laps 51 and 100. Had a spin early on in turn 2, lap 2 by Mason Diaz, and then lap 19, the 7 of Eric Condell spun in turn 4. Lap 27, the 54 of Joey East and the 42 of Connor Jones got together in turn 4. Very busy flagman in the first quarter of this, or no, first third of this race. Caution after caution after caution until we got to that first break. After that point, as you see here, only 1 caution for the rest of the race that wasn't a break. That was lap number 84 as the 15 of Drew Dollar spun on the front stretch. Now, those weren't the only drivers to have issues in this race. Sammy Smith blew a right rear tire not once, but twice. Neither time did ARCA throw a caution. So I would assume he wasn't putting down any debris or anything. What seemed to be a very strong night for Sammy Smith, at least that's the way it started out. Qualified in 4th, was fast in practice as well. And unfortunately, it just didn't pan out that way for Sammy Smith. I don't know that he had really the speed to compete for the win last night, but he definitely had speed to contend and definitely pad his East Series points lead, as this was a combo race with the ARCA Menard Series East. And that's something I think they got a little lost last night. And one of the things I have worried about with running all these combo races, especially when you're running the last 3 races of the season as combo races, it kind of gets forgotten that we've got some of these guys running for an East championship. And that's my biggest worry with all these combo races. But I digress. That is a topic for another video. Lap leaders on the night. One lap led by Taylor Gray. The other 149 were led by Ty Gibbs. Now the question is, did Taylor Gray take the lead from Ty Gibbs on the last lap and make for an exciting finish? Or did Ty Gibbs run away with this race as he's done so many times already this season? I think you already know the answer to that. Ty Gibbs ran away with this one, dominated it. He got a little bit of competition from Taylor there on the restart after the Eric Caudell spin at lap 25. 25 was the lap that Taylor Gray led. But outside of that, it was all Ty Gibbs all night. He ran away with it. And I will give MAV TV credit. I know a lot of people don't get MAV TV or Track Pass, which you can also watch the MAV TV broadcasts on Track Pass. I know a lot of people don't get either one of those, so you probably didn't see the broadcast if you weren't at the track. MAV TV did a really good job production-wise on this race. It wasn't a follow-the-leader broadcast and we just watched Ty Gibbs the whole night as he ran away with it. No, they did a really good job of focusing on battles back in the pack and showing that there was good racing happening in this race. It just wasn't for the lead. So I will give MAV TV credit for that. One of the better put-together broadcasts I've seen in a while for any level of NASCAR. So kudos to MAV TV. Makes me wish that MAV TV was more available and more people were able to see MAV TV, because they've actually been putting together some really top-notch broadcasts production-wise. And that being said, this was actually a really good race. If you eliminate the fact that Ty Gibbs was running away with it, there actually was some really good racing throughout the pack in this race. Of course, that wasn't for the lead, so I know a lot of people still would get bored with that, but at the same time, overall, we saw some fantastic racing last night. Multiple lanes being utilized and utilized effectively. And I'm going to put my plea out right now. I was a little worried by the crowd I saw at Iowa Speedway last night. When I looked out and looked in those grandstands, it didn't look like there were that many people there. I hate to guesstimate on a number because I don't know. I've heard they almost sold out on the pre-sale tickets, so I don't know what exactly happened with that, but it did not look like there was that many people at the track, and it worries me that that kind of a showing, and this being the only race Iowa has this year, it might possibly be the last race for Iowa Speedway. I would hate to see that. I really would, because this track showed last night. Yes, Ty Gibbs ran away with it, but at the same time, we saw some really good racing at this track, and it can produce good racing. I would hate to see this track go away. This has been a really good track. Yes, it's had races that have not been great in the past, but every track has that. No track has every race fantastic. You'll have some misses here and there, but you'll also have some really good races. And I would really hate, personally, for my first time to Iowa Speedway to be also my last time. So hopefully the smaller crowd last night doesn't deter NASCAR and ARCA from coming back to Iowa Speedway in the future, as well as IndyCar, because IndyCar's not there this year either. Hopefully they are able to come back in the future as well, because I would really love to see Iowa Speedway continue on into the future. It is a fantastic track. Let's look at your results. Ty Gibbs, of course, as we mentioned, is your winner. Daniel Nye got up to second at the end of the race. He was catching Ty Gibbs. I don't know if Ty was just saving at the end and wasn't trying to push it very hard, so that was why the gap was shrinking. But it went from, I think, 2.5 seconds down to about 1.2 by the time they took the checkered flag. So if Daniel Nye had had a few more laps, he might have been able to get there. Again, it might have just been Ty going easy on the car at the end of the race, making sure he got to the end. We still might have had a race if there'd been a few more laps. We'll never know at this point, but it remains a fact that Daniel Nye was catching Ty Gibbs at the end of this race. Taylor Gray landed in the third spot, fast car all night, just not quite enough, especially in the later portions of the race, to do anything with Ty Gibbs in this race. Corey Heim, you hate to say fourth is a disappointing run, but When your main championship rival wins the race, leads the most laps, starts from the pole, fourth is a disappointing night. And Corey was digging out of a hole from the very beginning after starting in seventh. Not a great night from Iowa for Corey Heim, and as we'll see when we get to the points, this has jumbled some things up. Corey is not as comfortable coming into this race as he was. Now, a 5-point lead coming into this race, not a comfortable lead to begin with, but he's definitely not comfortable now by any means. Nick Sanchez rounds out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Thad Moffitt, Jesse Love, Mason Diaz, Raja Caruth, and Brett Holmes. Uncharacteristically off night for Brett Holmes. It might be the fact that that ARCA car hasn't been out in a while. When's the last time we saw this 23 car show up in ARCA? So it may just be the fact that they haven't been at the track in a while on the ARCA side of things, but they were definitely off in this race. Started 8th, finished 10th. I think they were like 13th in practice, so not what you would expect to see out of the defending ARCA Menard Series champion, even if he hasn't run very many races this year. 11th through 20th, Drew Dollar, after his spin, landed in the 11th position. Last car on the lead lap. Max Gutierrez in 12th. Morgan Alexander in the Nice Motorsports car came home in 15th. Sammy Smith, after his 2 flat tires, did come back out on the track to run a few laps, and then finally parked it after the 3rd time on the track, and ended up in the 18th position, 103 laps down. And Joey East, after his accident, landed in 20th. Final page, 21st through 23rd, Connor Jones, Tony Cosentino, and Stephanie Moyer would land on the final page of the Iowa results. So that's your results from the Shore Lunch 150. Now, we've already had a Ty Gibbs interview. We had it last night at the track. It was a little bit messed up, as you have seen if you have already watched it, with no video, but we did have the audio. I don't know what happened to the video in that. It was weird. It was like it was corrupted. It just wouldn't do anything in Final Cut. I don't know what happened there, but it just wouldn't work. So I do apologize for that. One of these days, we will get a good at the track Ty Gibbs interview where everything goes right, where I ask the right questions and I don't look like an idiot, where we have good audio and the mic is working, where we have good video and the camera actually worked and the file's not corrupted. One of these days, we'll actually get a decent Ty Gibbs interview at the track. I don't know when that day will be, but, I mean, we've got, 9 races left this year, so hopefully you would think in those races we would have that. Now, before we get to the standings, there's been some of you asking, why don't we do highlights and why don't we do video of the race in this? Well, one, I can only use what ARCA gives me. So if they don't give me highlights, I can't use it. Otherwise, that really would screw up my relationship with them, and I wouldn't be able to do near as much at the track as what I am currently doing and what I'm planning on doing in the future as we continue to move into the mobile live streams once we hit 1,000 subscribers. Now, they did send me some highlights for this race. Sent me a little bit extra than what they usually do for these races. Now, it's not a lot, and I'm going to show you what they send for highlights. Do you want me to use this? All they gave me was the initial green flag of the race here for the first few seconds, a random in-car shot from one of the Rev Racing cars, either Raja or Nick, I'm not sure which one it is. Then we cut to the last lap off of turn 4, the shot of Ty Gibbs winning the race, and then a quick shot of Ty in victory lane. That's all I get. So, and it's not even for every race that they'll send those. So, I don't know what you want from me. I could throw a lot more highlights in, but that would also really hurt things, and we wouldn't be able to do a lot at the track, if anything. So, it's a balancing act. I hope everyone understands that. Believe me, I would like to have highlights and all kinds of other stuff in this show. I would. And hopefully, as this channel continues to grow and do more coverage, hopefully that allows us to do more of that and add in more highlights and stuff, and ARCA is okay with that. We'll see. Because believe me, I have asked multiple times over the past few years what we can do about highlights and getting them in the show, and that's the best we could do, apparently. So I do apologize for that, I really do, but I'm doing the best I can. So let's move on to the standings following this race. We've got 2 sets of standings to look at. First, we're going to look at the ARCA East standings after this race. Sammy Smith still leads, but the lead has shrunk. It's 19 points now over Mason Diaz, 26 over Daniel Dye, and 30 over Max Gutierrez. 35 back is Joey East, 37 back is Raja Caruth. Still a fairly substantial lead, and it would probably take another bad race out of Sammy at either Milwaukee or Bristol for Mason, Daniel, Max, Joey, Raja, any of them to really get into this. But as we saw at Iowa, Sammy can have issues, and this isn't locked up yet. Do I expect Sammy to go out and have issues at either Milwaukee or Bristol? No, but I didn't expect him to have issues at Iowa either. So who knows? We'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting championship fight down to the wire. I still think it's Sammy Smith's championship to lose, but he still can lose it under the right circumstances. It's not wrapped up yet. So that's your points for ARCA East following Iowa. Let's look at the main ARCA points following Iowa. Ty Gibbs, for the first time this season, is your ARCA Menard Series points leader by 4 points. He came into this race trailing by 5. He leaves this race leading by 4. This is why I wait on official points from ARCA, because this is not what I expected to see from these points. I have tried to do the points on my own in the past to try and get these shows out quicker, and it never fails. I get something wrong in the points compared to what ARCA puts out as official points. I don't know how I do it. While ARCA points are a little confusing on how they tabulate up a few things here and there, they're fairly straightforward. But it never fails. I always get something wrong. And honestly, I was convinced after this race, best case scenario for Ty Gibbs was that he was tied with Corey Heim. I don't know how he ended up 4 points ahead after this race, but that's what we've got. So it is what it is. Those are your points leaving Iowa. Ty Gibbs leads by 4. Not a good situation for Corey Heim. Obviously, the longer he holds the lead, the better chance he has. I mean, we've got some good tracks coming up for Ty. Winchester this week is a race that he dominated last year. Michigan might be a Corey Heim race. Watkins Glen, I see that being a Ty Gibbs race as good as he's been on road courses. But Corey was pretty good at Mid-Ohio. Outside of the pit road speeding penalties, he ran pretty well at Mid-Ohio. So I wouldn't count Corey Heim out at Mid-Ohio. Then you've got the dirt races, Springfield and DuQuoin. I feel like Corey has done pretty well there in the past. So those are races I feel like Corey might be able to make something back at. Milwaukee, who knows what that's going to be. I feel like that's probably going to be a Ty Gibbs race, but you never know. It's going to be tough for Corey Heim now that he has lost the points lead, especially with as disappointingly off as Venturini Motorsports was as a whole in this race. It's going to be interesting going forward. Your battle for third, Thad Moffitt now leads Nick Sanchez by 16 points, 80 and 96 points back respectively. And Jesse Love has now made his way into the top 10 in the main ARCA points now after 5 starts this season, 3 top 5s and 5 top 10s. But that's your points following Iowa, and I believe that'll do it for us today on this ARCA Menard Series Rewind show. I know this has been a long one, so I'm going to try not to take a lot of time wrapping this up. iRacing Tuesday coming up on Tuesday. I don't know if we'll have a driver this week or not. We will have it this week. I know we didn't last week. I had stuff come up at the last minute and wasn't able to do it. But we will have an iRacing Tuesday this week. And I think we do have a driver for next week. So if we don't have one this week, we definitely have one next week, or should have one next week. We'll see what happens with that. But I'm 99% sure we have a driver for next week. So keep an eye out for all of that. Winchester coming up this weekend. We'll be back at Winchester at the track. So look for some coverage from that race. If we can somehow hit 1,000 subscribers this week, you'll get mobile live streams from that race. If not, the next one would be Michigan, I do believe, since we won't be at Watkins Glen. So we got about a month in between there to hit 1,000 subscribers if you want mobile live streams by Michigan. So help us out with that if you haven't already. So I think that's going to do it. So as always, thank you to our Patreon supporter, Regional Manager William Holmes. Thank you as always for your support. It really is greatly appreciated. If you would like to be a patron of RNN, the link is down below in the description, patreon.com/racingnewsnow. Not required by any means, but it is greatly appreciated when you want to support RNN in that way. But I think that's going to do it for this one. So at that, this has been the ARCA Menard Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.